The topic of this workshop is, I know what it is. It is the privilege of aging. And our first speaker will be Silver.
Okay. Hey, my name is Silver and I'm an addict.
Hi, Silver.
So like the privilege of aging. So I know some of y'all probably looking at me, right? The privilege of aging. Let me just tell you that first I'm an addict. And my active addict life started at 11 years old. So I've done a lot of aging since I started using. You know, I started at 11 years old, and I remember, you know, I was listening to somebody talk about 40. You had to be over 40 to be in this room. I remember when I was 11 years old, I wanted to die by the time I was 40 because I thought 40 was old. I thought I would be in Pampers and somebody would have to take care of me because that was my perception of old, 40 years old. It has since changed. But I started using when I was 11 years old, and using, in order to use, I had to do a lot of things. And some of the things that I had to do was, you know, I had to transport drugs, and I transported drugs with a lot of people, but not all. I don't really know anybody who I transported drugs with that's alive today. You know, privilege of aging. Not many people get this privilege.
That's right.
Especially in recovery. Especially where we come from. See, the people who I got high with are either dead or they're still in prison. See, my story includes prison. My story includes using dirty needles. You know, I started using needles at a very young age because the first time I used heroin, I had a group of people and they were showing me how to do it. They skin popped me and they mainline, and everybody was high and I was still sitting up. So I realized that I had to mainline in order to get high. And that was where I took off, you know. So let me tell you that in using dirty needles, everywhere I went, I had Hep C. I got Hep C. A lot of people either got Hep C or they got the virus. And so when I came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous at 26, a lot of people had Hep C, but we wasn't talking about it.
That's right.
A lot of people had the virus, but we wasn't talking about it. Because you was supposed to feel shame if you had the virus. You were supposed to feel shame if you had Hep C. You know, because that's what society was doing. We was a little ignorant, you know, about treatment and being ill. You know, so I had Hep C, and some of us were talking about go to the doctors. Not everybody. Some of us were keeping it a secret. You know, I had at least 10 friends in early recovery, and we all had Hep C or the virus. At least 8 of those friends are no longer with us because they didn't seek treatment. I had Hep C, and you know, they didn't really have a cure for it when I came around in 91. You know, so you know, they started us on something, and you know that didn't work, and it made us sicker than well. You know, maybe about 3 or 4 years later, we tried another treatment. You know, and that didn't work on me. And then about 3 or 4 years later, they tried another treatment. And that didn't work on me, you know. And then some years later, I came down here to Georgia, and they had come out with a new drug. And after about 6 months, I'm cured.
Right.
But if we don't go to the doctor, that ain't happening. I got many friends who died of Hep C. You know, the virus showed a lot more symptoms than Hep C did. You know, so if you're not going to doctors and if you're not asking them to test for Hep C, you'll never know you have it. You know, so I'm one of those ones who was privileged. But, you know, I had to, like recovery says, I had to participate in my health. I had to participate in my well-being. Whole lot of my friends didn't make it to 55. That's my age. You know, I want to talk about acceptance. You know, also some of our illnesses. Now, see, that illness came from me directly using drugs, directly from my addiction. But what about those illnesses that may kill us that has nothing to do with my addiction? Because, see, at the age of 12, that was my first straitjacket. My mother called a paddy wagon on us. That's what they call them in New York. Called a paddy wagon on me. And I was straitjacketed, and I was taken to the psych ward. And see, not everybody survives mental illness. See, my stomach has been pumped twice from attempted suicides. I have a plate in my arm from cutting 2 veins. I've run out directly into ongoing traffic with trucks coming my way. It is only by the grace of God. See, God got a purpose for me, and I didn't understand that. But God also gives us choices. You know, I can take my will back and die. See, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia because it runs in my family. Mental illness runs in my family. And I've, I didn't have, life didn't mean that much to me. So it was nothing to take my life when you embarrassed me, or you didn't like me, or you talked about me, or I screwed up. See, my mental illness tells me, disappear, die. So what do? Can't get rid of it, but what I can do, what the literature says, seek outside help. The literature says in the self-acceptance pamphlet, like, you got to get in touch with who you are. You got to, like, it is what it is. Now, I can live with mental illness, or I can die from mental illness. I can live a fulfilling life, you know, a fulfilling existence, or I can be on the street somewhere talking to myself and twirling around. I was also fortunate enough that the literature and you people told me, tell it. So when I came in here and I told it, y'all directed me to therapy. Y'all directed me to medication so that I wouldn't self-destruct. You know, the first step talks about it don't matter how many years in recovery you may have. You may find yourself backed up in the corner where you can't come out clean or do anything constructive about your dilemma. Might not have the coping skills. And I can't get the coping skills on my own. I didn't know what life was about when I walked in here at 26. I started using at 11. I stopped growing. I stopped learning at 11 years old. So when I came in here at 26 years old, I didn't have a clue what life was about, or how to take care of myself, or what it was to be a woman. But my second step tells me that you also got a story. And if you can change, I can change. If you can grow, I can grow. If you can survive, I can survive. Hep C, cured. Because it is what you guys told me to do. Mental illness. I'm still living with mental illness. I go to therapy, I take medicine every day, and a day at a time, I'm living with it. Now that don't mean I ain't been in the psych ward since 12 years old. I go in and out of the psych ward every once in a while. You know, because sometimes, right, what goes on between these two ears start telling me something. See, I'm writing a book right now, and I feel like my medication stops my creativity. So I stopped taking my medicine. And then when my hands is around my wife's neck when she's sleeping, you know, or I woke up 55 years old, November 8th, and I thought it was a good day to die. I'm talking about with 28 years clean. See, if I don't tell it, I won't get that privilege of living and getting older and surviving my illnesses. The privilege of getting older. You know, last year, January 1st, I was 215 pounds. Because what happened was, I took, you know, I didn't realize that different things happen to you when you age. See, I used to think skinny, and I was. I did no work, and I had a beautiful body. I was healthy. Life was great. But then all of a sudden, I started getting older. And everything I ate put a lump on me. And then I would try to lose weight, and nothing would happen. So I went up to 215 pounds. See, I've been 120 pounds all my life, or 110 pounds, or 80 pounds all my life. And then all of a sudden, I start doing this aging thing, and nobody told me that things was going to happen to my body and change. The makeup of it was going to change, so I wound up being 215 pounds. And I was miserable. I started looking at pictures of me, because see, I couldn't see it, because I was in denial. I didn't know I was fat until I looked at pictures. Now, don't get this messed up. If you 215 pounds and you're not fat, that's cool. But at 215 pounds, I was fat. And I remember going into my home group, and I cried and I screamed to the top of my lungs. And I said, I'm tired of being fat. See, now, you know what comes with fat? What comes with fat was 3 medications. I had high blood pressure. My doctor said that I was a walking stroke. I was taking my blood pressure every day, and it was 175 over 135. Hey. And I couldn't stop eating. My doctor said I'm a walking stroke. And I yelled in the meeting. And I said, I'm tired of being fat. I need help. But see, some people in denial where they at. So after the meeting, somebody said, Silva, you got low self-esteem. You know, because they wasn't ready to not be fat. They said, stop calling yourself fat. You're putting yourself down. I said, I didn't tell you you was fat. I said, I'm fat. You know, somebody told me, you know, black girls are supposed to be thick. So I had to get quiet. And I had to go to God. And I got up in my mirror last year, January 1st, and I took off all my clothes, and I said, God help me. I don't want to be fat no more, and I don't want to die. See, my mother's 76 years old. She goes to the gym 4 days a week. I want that privilege. So I stopped talking to people, and for the next 6 months, I went to God. And I prayed every day. And it was hard, and I was hungry. Every day. It was hard, and I was hungry. But I stopped eating. I stopped abusing food, and in 6 months, I was 160 pounds. Wow. It's possible. Because, see, I don't want to die. Listen, I have never had a fulfilling existence. And this program says it could teach me how to live. See, this thing called recovery in this life I got right now is so good. I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to die. I want to live. I want to walk my granddaughter down the aisle. I want to walk my grandson down the aisle. I want to see great-grandchildren like my mother and my father are seeing. See, I have the privilege of having my mother and father still alive. And I know not everybody got that privilege. You know, and I listen to, I take care of my mother, and I listen to my mother say, it's hard losing my independence. I don't want you to take care of me. This is scary. And one day at a time, I learned how to live. You got to tell me my time. Is that my time?
How much time is she?
Take all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to say, the privilege of aging, I have lost a lot of friends. And I'm only 55 years old. And I have lost a lot of friends younger than me. And I know maybe everybody's 20, 10, 20, maybe sometimes 30 years older than me in this room. But I lived 28 years in recovery. And on this journey, I had to learn how to live. Because I almost died over and over again in recovery because I had bad habits. I didn't come in here knowing how to live. Anorexia. I was anorexic from the age of 10 until I had 9 years clean. Because I was scared to tell it. I would starve myself. I would pass out. They would put me in a malnutrition clinic. I would tell people that I went away. You know why I would tell people I went away? Because when I told people I had an eating disorder and that I would starve myself, you know what they would say? I wish I had that problem. See, living, I also got to be around the right people. Not everybody can help me live, because we don't all know how to live. We had different stages of this game. We had different levels of acceptance of this game. You know, I was so afraid of being fat when I was young that I would starve myself until I passed out and would have to be admitted into a malnutrition clinic for a couple of days. And I was scared to tell y'all because y'all were fat and y'all didn't identify. Today I'm trying to live. Today I honor the privilege that God gave me to be 55 years old, reasonably good shape, good health. I'm on no medication except for my, you know. I gotta take that. Ask my wife. I gotta take that. But I'm honored that somebody came before me and they went to the doctors and they showed me how one day at a time. You know, because sometimes my vanity will get to me. You know, because when you're getting older, like I know how to dress. I know how to make it look good. But when I take my clothes off, it don't look the way it looked when I was 26. Right?
Right. Right.
You know, my vanity will get in the way. And all of a sudden I feel like, what the hell? And I'll throw it all away. It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work to live a fulfilling existence. Because my expectations of what fulfilling is high. And it's a lot of work. But one day at a time, I'm here. Like, I'm grateful that I lived to be 55. I went into menopause at 50. Now I'm 55 and I'm not hot no more. I'm cold. I think I'm finished menopause at 55. Go figure. Didn't take any medication for it. Drove my wife crazy. 3 fans in the room. Yeah. And now I'm 55 and that's over. Now I'm freezing. And she's 50. And she's getting ready to go through it. So like, she's upstairs, I'm downstairs. You know, I got the heater on, she's got the air conditioner on. You know, that lesbian relationship thing, you know, when you got 2 women in the house, you know. Should have saw us when we was both bleeding, but anyway, you know. just imagine, right? But I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm just gonna say that this life that I was afforded in recovery, that you people are showing me how to live one day at a time, is so awesome. I don't want to go nowhere. So I'm learning how to live, and I'm so grateful that I was one of the chosen ones.
That's right. Say that.
That is still here. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, and our second speaker is John.
My name's John. I'm an addict.
Hey, John.
Thank you for sharing. And I'm grateful to be here clean today. And I was actually not intended to do this workshop, so it was a last minute thing that I was asked. And but the irony is of this, you know, the privilege of aging.
You've had it.
I'm alive today. You know, and by God's grace and the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I've been able to put some clean time together and live another day. Okay? And I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous 2 weeks after my 21st birthday. And, you know, in October of last year, I turned 52 years old. And I'm grateful today that, you know, this program has shown me a way to live life successfully. And, you know, and I look around the rooms and I start to see people that I've known for years, and hair's getting gray, getting a little bit older, people starting to sleep in the meetings, you know, and things are changing. You know, and that's the reality for myself today. And actually, Wednesday of this week, prior to the convention, I had my annual physical done. And that's one of the things that, you know, that I've started to do in the recent years, is to have that done on a yearly basis. And in the last couple of years, my doctors put me on my cholesterol. My bad cholesterol's been high, elevated. You know, my blood pressure's been up there, and I've got a family history of heart disease. And I've got 2 older brothers who are dead today as a result of heart attacks. And the brother closest to me died at age 64. Of just a heart attack right out of the blue. So the reality today, and Narcotics Anonymous has helped me realize this and live this, that all I've got is today. You know, and you know, and the truth too also, about 2 weeks ago, there was a young man that was in part of my home group that had been struggling, coming in and out, overdoses and dies. And today they had a memorial service for him. You know, and it's true that I have a disease that is fatal. But by God's grace and you people, you know, I've been able to stay away from that first one. You know, and I had people telling me early on that if, you know, one of the successes of accumulating some clean time and getting older is to stay away from the first one and keep breathing. So, you know, but like was shared previously, you know, one of the things that I began to learn, and my doctor was stressing to me Wednesday, was that, you know, he says, you can change your Levi's, but you can't change your jeans. And, you know, and he was strongly suggesting to me that I need to change my diet, you know, to cut out the flour. And I've got one of these doctors that believe that I need to go to a plant-based diet. And I'm saying, you want me to become a vegan? And I was like, man, I love the red meats too much, and I love my biscuits, and I love cheese, and you want me to, and I'm just like, it was blowing me away, and I'm sitting here with the ultimatum that I've heard doctors give a lot of my friends and a lot of people in my family, and I'm like, here I am, I've got to make some changes, and the beautiful thing about Narcotics Anonymous is prepared me to live life on life's terms today, and I don't like it. But I've got family members that there's diabetes in my family. There's all these things that lead to death if I choose to ignore. And one thing for me, man, that's been really difficult is to adjust my diet to become a healthier. And in our literature too, that and the journey continues, it talks about our physical selves. And a big aspect of recovery is taking care of our physical selves. And a lot of times I look around the rooms and I've got dear friends that suffer from diabetes in these rooms. And I sit there and watch them just eat. And not only people in these rooms, but family members and other people that I know, and I'm like, what are you doing? Or I sit there and watch my friends smoke, and by God's grace, I've been away from cigarettes for about 10 years now, and I thank God that I don't have any desire to put a cigarette in my mouth today, and that's truly by God's grace and the 12 steps. And but the reality too is that the steps do work on anything. That if I've got some honesty, open-minded, and willingness to try something different, and with the help of you people, that I can change. And I tell you, I was sitting there listening to that, and it's kind of ironic that I'm sitting here speaking to you tonight. Because I was saying, man, I'm gonna be at the convention this weekend. I'm gonna be up late, and I don't intend to change my diet right away. And and I haven't eaten anything since lunchtime today. And I've been experiencing acid reflux. A lot of things begin to change, and I've heard a lot of people say that growing older is not for the faint-hearted, and I'm beginning to understand what they're talking about, because I have aches today that I used to not be there. My knees, my ankles, but it's shown me that there's the importance for me to learning to become healthier, not only emotionally and spiritually, but also physically. How that's intertwined all together, and I can't neglect that area of my life today. So I've been struggling with this, and on some level, it's really not hit me to my core what I really need to do. Change. I'm not real excited about having to eat a salad or eating raw, and he's like, you need to eat at least 10 servings of raw fruit or raw vegetables a day, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that sounds a bit extreme. And but the reality is that with the help of you people and being open-minded, that it is possible. And I'm just grateful to be here, and grateful that I have an opportunity to do something different today. And it's truly by God's grace. And like you said, I've got to take responsibility. It comes back down to if I'm going to do it, it's up to me. I don't have somebody over my shoulder when I go by McDonald's, And one of the things that I found too is that, you know, I've got to, you know, I'll wait till I get so starving, man, that I'm like, screw it, I'll eat anything.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that fast food tastes so damn good. So I know it's going to be a challenge, you know, but something, again, the program's taught me is to be able to live in today and live in the moment, you know, and anything is possible when I stay focused on today and I get crazy with what I have to do. And, you know, and the reality is, you know, I was thinking about, you know, when I was younger, I really didn't think about getting older, you know, didn't really consider it. And, you know, and that's one of the things this by practicing this program in my life has given me the opportunity to keep moving forward. And I've got a lot of things to live for today, a lot of blessings in my life. I got children and, you know, a lot of things that I want to be around for when they have children and when they get married. And so, you know, there's been some signs and some warnings that, hey, you know, it's time to do something different. And that's something, you know, like I said, man, it's struggling. And the irony of it is, too, is this just happened a couple of days ago.